Hello everybody, today we're going to be discussing some very shocking moments in Doctor Who. The first thing you need to know is this is entirely my opinion. Your top 5 shocking moments in Doctor Who won't line up with mine. Also, this isn't really top 5, it's really just 5 great shocking moments in the show. And also, this is not going to include stuff from Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant's era as the show, because I've watched that when I was really young. So the stuff that had more of an impact on me was the stuff that I watched as it was coming out, because it was more shocking to me. So just know that those aren't a part just because I wasn't quite at the right age to be watching those as they were coming out. And as long as you're aware with that and okay with that, then let's move on and discuss 5 moments that I found particularly shocking during the show while it was coming out. Also super important, there are going to be spoilers for the entire show in this video, so if you aren't caught up, stop watching now because it's going to be spoiled for you. Now, I think I want to start off with the War Doctor. This was a very interesting reveal. It just ended the season saying, introducing John Hurt as the Doctor. And I remember watching that when I was, I don't even know how old, and it was a little bit confusing, but also surprising and shocking. And this one was probably the most confusing moment on this list for me as a kid to watch and go, what does that really mean? What is he doing? Why is the dragon from Merlin on this show? What's happening? So it was a little bit confusing, but it was also very interesting because I didn't know what was happening, and I was interested as to where that was going to lead to. And ultimately, I was a big fan of that whole storyline and what came out of it, and basically everything going on there. But it was a very shocking moment as a kid to watch. And another moment I want to discuss is a moment from the Day of the Doctor. You know, I really think you might. What a brilliant moment this was. Now, just to see Tom Baker again on screen was amazing. He was the first Doctor I watched when I was a kid. I watched The Key to Time. And to see him back on the screen was just amazing, and it was so lovely and heartwarming. And it was very surprising because, you know, I never thought that he was going to come back. Why would I think that? You know, up to that point, I hadn't seen any of the classic Doctors come back. I don't know if I'd seen Time Crash at that point or not. And to see him back, the first Doctor I'd seen, was just really cool. And I absolutely loved that. And it was very shocking. I was not expecting it. And another moment I want to discuss is the final few minutes of Heaven Sent. Basically one of the best sequences in Doctor Who. Series 9 was really the series that I really was watching it week to week as it came out and was loving it. And I had an absolute blast with that series, and this moment, these final few moments, as you realize what's been happening this entire story and you start to understand what this all meant, were shocking. And just the places your head goes to as it's unraveling this information and as it's letting you figure out what happened is just brilliant. I love the whole sequence, and it was a very shocking moment and just something I just wasn't really expecting out of Doctor Who at that point, because, you know, I was really enjoying the series, but to get just a moment like that, an episode like that, which ultimately to me stands as one of the best episodes of the entire show, it was brilliant. And I love just the whole sequence, and it was one of the most surprising things I saw on the show. And yeah, I loved it. Another moment I'm going to talk about is Captain Jack returning. This is a very recent one and a very shocking one. You know, I screamed, I shouted, I yelled, I was super excited. It was nothing I'd ever expected to see. He'd been off the air for 10 years. It was an amazing moment. I've talked about it before. I don't need to spend too much time on this. I just loved that, and it was very shocking to me, and I just love everything about that whole sequence. And this one is probably the most shocking one on this list. It's hard to really know which order they go in. That's why I'm not really going in terms of how shocking they are, but this one is probably the most shocking one on the list. It's really something, you know? The last one I'm going to talk about is also a really recent one, and it's the Ruth Doctor reveal. Now, this one just, because the show had been set up through Series 11 to be very normal and to just be them having fun on adventures, to see it completely curve in this direction in the following series was very unexpected, and that kind of makes it even more surprising when something like this happens halfway through a series, because you just think it's a Jejune episode, and then you think you know what's going on when you see Captain Jack, and then this happens, and it just turns the whole thing on its head and just says, hey, this is what's happening. Yeah, be confused. And this is kind of like the War Doctor, a little bit of a confusing one, although this time I'm not a kid. And I'm watching this, and I don't know what the hell is happening. And I'm loving it. And I'm very excited to see where this goes. But it was a very confusing, shocking, interesting thing to watch. And yeah, those are just a few shocking moments from throughout the show. And this is really more about my personal experience than anybody else's, because, you know, it's not comprehensive. It's not really about the moments that shocked most. It's about the moments that stick out to me as shocking. And it ultimately is the ones that I watched as they came out. That's why it's all within the past, you know, like 5 series, is because, yeah, that's the stuff that I was mainly watching as it was coming out. So yeah, be sure to let me know what you think of the most shocking moments of the show, or some shocking moments that you think are worthy of including. Whatever you want to say, drop it down below. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. I'm sorry this video is a little bit late. I know I said this was going to be coming out at the beginning of the month, and here we are, like halfway through, and you know what? I apologize, but we're just going to keep moving on. Yeah, hope to see you around soon for more videos and things, but if not, just know that I appreciate your time here today, and with that said, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and have a lovely week.